The VS Code tab you have open in the background right now is using around 400 megabytes of RAM. The original Macintosh, released in 1984, shipped with 128 kilobytes total. And on that machine, it ran a graphical operating system, a word processor, and MacPaint. A bitmap editor with brushes, fills, and undo. That's a 3,000-fold jump in memory. To do roughly the same thing. We didn't get 3,000 times more features. We got 3,000 times more abstraction. And somewhere along the way, an entire engineering discipline quietly disappeared. Today, we're going to try and bring it back. With a chat server, in 64 kilobytes. 3 things, in order. First, a short history of what engineers actually did when memory was the hard constraint, and the techniques they invented to survive it. Second, a live experiment. We're going to write a working TCP chat server in C with a 64 KB heap cap, and watch which modern habits die first. Third, the diagnosis. Why are software bloats by default in 2026? What we lose because of it, and the concrete path back. Not nostalgia, the path back is a career advantage right now. By the end, you'll know whether you could survive the 64 KB challenge yourself. Most working engineers couldn't. Let's set the scale honestly. The Commodore 64 shipped over 17 million units, and as the name suggests, had 64 kilobytes of RAM. The Apple II had anywhere from 4 to 48 KB depending on revision. The original IBM PC booted in 16 KB. The Atari 2600, the cartridge console your parents probably owned, ran games in 128 bytes. Bytes, not kilobytes. And on these machines, engineers shipped spreadsheets, word processors, flight simulators, and full operating systems. How? 4 techniques. They have names. The first one is bit packing. When memory is precious, you don't waste a whole byte on a single boolean. You pack 8 flags into 1 byte and mask them out. 1 byte. 8 booleans. Modern code uses a bool field per flag. The compiler aligns each one to a full byte, and struct padding rounds the whole thing up to 8. You just paid 64 times the memory for the same information. Second technique, hand-rolled allocators. No malloc in the hot path. You pre-allocated one big arena at startup and bumped a pointer through it. No fragmentation, no syscalls, 0 allocation overhead. The whole thing fits in your L1 cache. Then lookup tables, sine, cosine, square roots. Too expensive on a 1 MHz CPU. So you pre-computed 256 values at compile time, stuck them in ROM, and indexed into them. A multiplication you don't perform is a multiplication you don't pay for. And before you write this off as nostalgia for a dead era, wait until you see what the demoscene crowd did with 96 kilobytes. We'll get there in a minute. Fourth, fixed point math. Floating point was either too slow or didn't exist on your chip. So you stored fractional numbers as integers with an implicit decimal point. Add, subtract, compare. Every operation is a single integer op. Deterministic, fast, byte counted. And then there's the demoscene, that subculture of European coders who treated executable size as the entire art form. The 64K intro category, entire audiovisual demos, full 3D scenes with shaders, music, and effects, packed into 65,536 bytes, total executable. kkrieger, released in 2004, was a complete first-person shooter. 3 levels, monsters, soundtrack, in 96 kilobytes. A 2004 game engine with visuals not far off Crysis in a file smaller than this script. These weren't wizards. They were engineers operating under a hard physical constraint. And the constraint made them precise. Now let's actually do it. A TCP chat server, multiple clients, broadcast messages, real protocol, 64 KB heap cap enforced at the kernel level. Here's the cap before we write a single line. Attempt 1, the modern reflex, Node.js express socket.io. We don't even get to start the runtime. V8 alone needs around 30 MB just to boot. Dead on arrival. Attempt 2, go. Go routine per client, channels, net, listen, clean code. The Go runtime itself reserves several megabytes for its scheduler and garbage collector. Killed before main even runs. Attempt 3, Rust. Now we're getting somewhere. Tokyo plus Tokyo, sync, dot, broadcast. The runtime is leaner, the binary is tight, and for a moment it actually looks like it might fit. But Tokyo's thread pool and channel buffers blow past 64 KB the second a handful of clients connect. Close, not close enough. Attempt 4, the right tool. We drop frameworks entirely. We write C with epoll, a single static arena, bit-packed client state. Total static footprint, under 40 KB. Heap allocation in the hot path, 0. Epoll wait returns events. We read into the per client buffer, scan for a new line, copy into the ring, fan out to writable FDs. That's the whole program, and it runs. 16 concurrent clients, sub-millisecond broadcast latency. No GC pauses because there's no GC. No allocator fragmentation because there's no allocator. Memory usage stays flat at around 42 kbytes for the lifetime of the process. You could run this on a low-end microcontroller, you could run it on a smart toaster. The Node version, doing the exact same job, uses 4,400 times more memory. And here's the part that should bother you. The C version is not harder to read. It's about 180 lines. No callback pyramid, no async stack, no framework magic underneath. If anything, it's more explicit, not less. The difficulty wasn't in writing it. The difficulty was in deciding to write it. So why don't we write software like this anymore? 4 reasons. None of them are technical. The first is that abstraction layers compound multiplicatively. Your chat app uses socket.io, which uses engine.io, which uses WS, which uses HTTP upgrade through Express, which uses Node's stream module, which uses libov, which uses epoll. 8 layers. Each one was reasonable in isolation. Stacked, they cost you 200 megabytes and 3 milliseconds before your code ever runs. The second reason is the dependency tree. A modern web service installs over 1,000 NPM packages to print Hello World. Most of them you've never heard of. Each one allocates. Each one imports more. By 2024, the average production bundle for a basic SaaS dashboard had ballooned to roughly 47 megabytes of JavaScript. None of that is your code. Reason 3 is cultural, and it's the one that matters most. Memory is cheap, became the dominant ideology somewhere around 2010. RAM is cheap, developer time is expensive, ship faster, optimize later. And honestly, that trade-off was correct for a long time. It's not anymore because the bill arrived. Serverless cold starts measured in seconds. Mobile apps crashing on 4 GB phones. Energy budgets blown by idle background processes. Container images so large the registry charges you for bandwidth. The fourth is the sneakiest. JIT and GC overhead are invisible. When a garbage collector pauses your process for 80 milliseconds, you don't see it in your IDE. You see it in production P99 latency 3 months later when a customer complains. The cost is real. It's just deferred and abstracted away from the engineer who caused it. So, here's what we actually lose. Predictability. A program with no dynamic allocation has bounded behavior. You can prove it won't run out of memory. You can prove its latency. Modern code can't make either claim. Tail latency. The 99th percentile request is what kills your business. GC pauses, page faults from oversized working sets, cache misses from bloated structs, all of it murders P99. Lean code has a tighter distribution. Period, energy. Every megabyte you allocate gets touched, cached, paged, garbage collected. Multiply by 1 billion users and you get a real number. Industry estimates put the annual cloud bill for inefficient software somewhere in the tens of billions of dollars in pure waste. The carbon equivalent of a mid-sized country. And the last one, debuggability. When something breaks 14 layers deep, you cannot debug it. You file a GitHub issue and pray. The 64 KB chat server, when it breaks in your code. You can read the entire thing in an afternoon. The path back doesn't require you to write everything in C. It requires habits. The first habit is allocation-aware coding. Before you knew something in a hot path, ask whether it needs to live on the heap at all. Could it be a stack value, a struct on a pre-sized arena, a pooled object? In Rust, prefer a str over string until you actually need to own. In Go, reuse sync.pool. In JavaScript, honestly, leave the hot path. Second, profile before frameworks. Most engineers reach for a framework before they've measured anything. Reverse it. Write the simplest thing that works. Profile it. Then decide which abstraction is worth its weight. The third habit takes the most discipline because it goes against every default in the ecosystem. Choose lean stacks on purpose. Zig. Rust without Tokio on small services. Go without an ORM layer. Plain SQL over Prisma. Every choice that removes a layer compounds in your favor. And then there's the fourth, which isn't really a habit so much as the cheapest skill upgrade available in this industry. Learn to read a flame graph. Most engineers who put senior on their LinkedIn have never opened perf, or Samply, or any CPU profiler at all. A weekend gets you fluent. It pays for itself the first time you find an allocation in a loop nobody else saw. The 1984 Macintosh engineers didn't write efficient code because they were geniuses. They wrote efficient code because the machine wouldn't let them do anything else. The constraint forced the craft. We don't have that constraint anymore, which means we have to choose the craft. And most of us don't, because nobody around us is, and because the bill for inefficiency arrives at someone else's desk. The SRE on call, the user with the cheap phone, the planet. So spend a weekend, pick something small, build it without a framework, cap your heap, measure everything. You'll write better software for the rest of your career, because the 64 KB chat server isn't a stunt. It's a literacy test. And if you can't reason about where your bytes are going, you're not engineering. You're assembling. And assemblers are exactly the people the next decade is going to replace. If protocol-level performance is your kind of question, there's another video on the channel breaking down why HTTP 3 is 52% faster on mobile. Same theme, different layer of the stack. A protocol change that rewrites the rules instead of optimizing inside the old ones. Link in the description. We'll keep counting bytes here.